Okay, somebody asked me about this, so here we are. As you know, on my channel, I also talk about some boring stuff, or a lot of people actually find it entertaining or informative. Legal stuff, technical stuff, or Korean media related stuff. Okay, and on July 3rd, 2025, Hive and its chairman Bang Si-hyuk, aka Hitman Bang, came under spotlight once again. There were multiple articles written about the company and him, Bang Si-hyuk, and whenever like there are some negative articles written about Bang, that makes a certain group of people very happy. So I'm pretty sure they had a great day today. Anyway, so in this video, we break down the key developments, okay, including the FSS, Financial Supervisory Services summons of Bang Si-hyuk, the police raid on the Korean exchange, interesting, right? And the latest details on the so-called 400 billion Korean won controversy tied to HYBE IPO. And as we always do, let's look at some facts. All right. So lots of articles for both HYBE and Bang Si-hyuk. So there were 3 exclusives today about the company slash Bang. Okay, this one about FSS summoning Mr. Bang, and also 2 articles written by MBC, which is one of the major broadcasts in Korea. This one and also this one, and I will take you through each. Okay, let's start with this one. 단독, exclusive, 금건원 사기적 부정거래, 방시혁 하이브 의장 소환 조사. So this article was released by News One at around 6 a.m. on July 3rd, titled Exclusive, Financial Supervisory Service summons HYBE Chairman Bang Si-hyuk for investigation over alleged fraudulent transactions. Reporter Moon Hye-won and Shin Gun-ung and Park Seung-hee. All right. Do they have any other photos? Like, it seems like the Korean media recycles a certain series of the same photos of Bang Si-hyuk. All right, here we go. The Financial Supervisory Service, FSS, has summoned HYBE Chairman Bang Si-hyuk for questioning in connection with allegations of fraudulent transactions in violations of the Capital Markets Act. This marks the first time since late 2023, when Kakao's Future Initiative Center head Kim Bum-soo was summoned, that the FSS has called in a corporate leader of this stature. All right, in case you don't know who this person is this man. All right. Oh, by the way, I have covered this issue we're about to talk about for multiple times on my channel. I have done deep dives. So I'm not gonna talk about like what happened and what people do not really know about or care about, and both from the perspectives of Hive haters and the police, and also from Hive and Bang Si-hyuk. So if you're interested, go check them out. I might attach the links to the previous videos, but for now we have a lot to cover, so let's do hash out the translations for now. Okay, so we just read that. According to sources in the investment and entertainment industries, Bang Si-hyuk appeared at the FSS late last month to be questioned over suspicions that he deceived investors by claiming Hive had no plans to go public while simultaneously preparing for an IPO. So the questioning already happened. Okay, sounds like Bang Si-hyuk went to FSS late last month. So yeah, June. I don't know, the last week of June, I guess. Although previous reports suggested that the FSS was preparing to fast-track the case and refer Bang to prosecutors, the agency decided further internal investigation was needed and continued its probe. Bang Si-hyuk is accused of misleading early investors and venture capital firms by denying IPO plans, only to move forward with preparations behind the scenes. During this time, HYBE reportedly applied for an audit designation, a required step in the IPO process. Furthermore, Bang Si-hyuk allegedly entered into a private agreement with the PEF, private equity fund, that is, established by an associate, granting him 30% of the capital gains from the shares sold by early investors. That agreement and the expected payout, estimated at around 400 billion Korean won, were reportedly omitted from HYBE's official securities filings. The FSS has determined that Bang Si-hyuk's actions likely amount to fraudulent conduct under the Capital Markets Act. That is, according to this article. After completing additional investigations, they are expected to decide whether to pursue formal sanctions and a criminal referral via the Securities and Futures Commission. A fast-track handover to the prosecution remains a possibility. Currently, Bang Si-hyuk is being investigated on two parallel tracks, one by the FSS and one by the police. The Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's Financial Crimes Unit has twice requested search and seizure warrants from the Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office, but both requests were denied. And we're going to talk about that soon. HYBE stated that Bang Si-hyuk has faithfully explained the facts during the FSS questioning. A HYBE spokesperson said, or 관계자, related personnel, said, "We understand that he responded sincerely to the issues raised by financial authorities." All right, so there we go. Interesting article. Now let's look at some comments. Let's see. I'm not gonna read the Korean. He should be detained like Kim Bum-soo of Kakao that I told you about. There's a risk of evidence destruction and flight. It feels like they rushed this before the appointment of the next FSS chief. Stop trying to make this a WWE show and investigate the stock manipulation and fraud properly. First thing first, issue a travel ban. This is 400 billion won we're talking about. Learning all the wrong things. If you're going to make money, do it with some decency. It's going down soon. If you try to make money unfairly, no matter how lucky you are, you eventually get punished. All right, party for the haters. Well, I mean, this whole thing could be a complicated issue, and I feel like when it comes to Bang Si-hyuk, in fact, we could say when it comes to HYBE, a lot of people approach an issue with their own beliefs already set in mind. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what really happens. But yeah, for now, those were the comments written under this article. So this was uploaded when? Released in the morning of July 3rd. All right. Let's move all over to NBC articles. Now, this was interesting. This is fairly long, comprehensive, written by a journalist called Park Chung-hee. But this article was first released at around noon. Titled 단독, 3수 끝에 들어간 하이브 상장 압수수색, 논란의 방 Si-hyuk 4천억. HYBE raid, finally approved on the third try. The 400 billion won Bang Si-hyuk controversy. Now, so this was first released at around noon, but then it got deleted due to the request made by the media agency. At around like 12:06. But then it got re-uploaded later in the afternoon. I've heard that it got like uploaded again, then re-deleted, then re-uploaded. I don't know about that, but it was at least deleted once and re-uploaded once. Okay, at around 5 p.m. So let me read you this one. This is kind of long. It seems like this journalist is reporting, assuming that people do not know about the case. So hang on tight. All right. Police finally secure search warrants after 2 rejections. And let me tell you later what got fixed and updated and what got revised or deleted from the first article that was taken down. Okay. The police are now formally investigating HYBE, the entertainment powerhouse behind BTS, NewJeans, TXT, Boy Next Door, and Le Sserafim, all of whom are set for full group comebacks next. Not all of them, but just BTS is set for full group comebacks next spring. According to reports, the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's Financial Crimes Investigation Unit recently conducted raids on institutions related to HYBE's IPO to obtain materials related to stock transactions and listing procedures. The search was no small feat. The police had previously submitted 2 separate requests, both of which were rejected, preventing them from even beginning formal investigative procedures. Within the force, there was growing frustration over what may consider to be an inexplicable refusal by the prosecution. But after the third request, the warrant was finally approved. That said, the police clarified that HYBE itself has not yet been directly raided. From the prosecution side, continuously rejecting warrants tied to such a high-profile investigation may have become too much of a burden, especially considering that the FSS is also conducting a parallel investigation into the same issue. At the heart of the investigation is HYBE chairman Bang Si-hyuk, who faces allegations of fraudulent transactions in violation of the Capital Markets Act. In simple terms, he is accused of personally receiving 400 billion Korean won during HYBE's IPO. The main question is whether this was part of a legitimate contract, as HYBE claims, or a dishonest transaction, as suspected by investigators. Okay, flashback. HYBE's historic IPO on October 15th, 2020. The day HYBE went public was a landmark moment for Kpop. The IPO caused a sensation, with the company's market cap surpassing 8 trillion Korean won on its first day, eclipsing the combined value of SM, JYP, and YG, all listed on the Kosdaq. The opening stock price surged from the offering price of 135,000 Korean won to over 350,000 Korean won. But then, something unexpected happened. The stock price crashed as large amounts of HYBE shares were suddenly dumped on the market. The price didn't recover to 351,000 Korean won, the closing price of day one, until roughly a year later. Actually, that plummeting soon after IPO is actually what happens to most IPO cases, including in the US. I'm speaking from a perspective of a investor who heavily invests in the US. And in fact, HYBE recovered stock price very fast. So I'm just saying. So yeah, it rose. Then when did it plummet this day? Oh, okay. So they call this plummet, but then they recovered. It recovered very fast. But anyways, all right. Back to the article. Where are we? The entities responsible for the massive sell-off were private equity firms like STIC Investments, Eastone Equity Partners, and New Main Equity, who had acquired shares before the IPO and cashed out quickly. This is where the controversy begins, particularly with the secret side agreements between these funds and Bang Si-hyuk. Let's see. The undisclosed earn-out agreement, 30% of profits to Bang, or Chairman Bang Si-hyuk. It's been revealed that these private equity firms entered into what's known as an earn-out agreement with Bang Si-hyuk. In short, This type of contract allows the seller to receive additional compensation if the company's performance exceeds certain targets. In this case, it meant Pang was promised 30% of the profits from these funds, HYBE investments, contingent on the IPO going through. That 30% cut eventually netted Pang around 400 billion Korean won, but this deal was never disclosed in HYBE's official securities filings, and only the involved parties were aware of it. While HYBE maintains this was a legally vetted and valid private agreement, the mere existence of such a deal presupposes that both parties expected HYBE to go public, a crucial point for the investigation. STIC Investments reportedly acquired a 12.2% stake in HYBE's predecessor, Big Hit, in 2018 and exited in 2021. Eastone PE dissolved in December 2021 after completing its investment cycle. New Main Equity was established in October 2019. These firms invested in HYBE not long before the IPO, raising questions about how they acquired such large stakes in the first place. They said there were no IPO plans. Back in 2019, HYBE allegedly told its early investors that there were no plans to go public. This may have led those investors to sell their shares early rather than wait for a potentially large future gain. For example, LB Investment, an early shareholder, sold its stake to STIC and Eastone PE. Notably, Eastone PE's key personnel included Kim Jung-dong, HYBE's former Chief Investment Officer, CIO. When the IPO did go through and these funds cashed out at a profit, retail investors, unaware of the secret 30% profit-sharing deal with Pang, may have mistaken the crash in stock price as a result of their investment failure? Okay. These PE firms were not subject to lockup agreements, allowing them to sell shares immediately after the IPO. Could it be breach of trust and bribery? While prosecutors have so far rejected applying the Capital Markets Act, one legal expert suggested that Pang's conduct could fall under breach of trust and bribery statutes instead. Under Article 357 of the Korean Criminal Code, a person managing another's affairs can be punished for accepting personal gains based on corrupt agreements. The argument is that Bang Si-hyuk, while orchestrating HYBE's IPO, personally benefited from a massive side deal. If it's proven that this deal involved undue influence or concealment, criminal charges could follow. Still, legal interpretations of such financial arrangements vary depending on the investigating agency. The article also confirms, that Bang Si-hyuk was summoned by the FSS last month, and that his case will likely will likely be forwarded to the prosecution after additional review. The Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office, which specializes in financial crimes, is expected to lead any eventual legal action. Incidentally, former FSS head Lee Bok-hyun, Lee Bok-hyun, and what's his name? Former FSS head Lee Bok-hyun had close ties with former prosecutor Shin Eung-seok, though both have since stepped down. Interestingly, HYBE was also raided in May over insider trading allegations involving a former executive. What? I don't understand this part. Let me read this again. So there was an article that has confirmed that Bang Si-hyuk was summoned by the FSS last month. Yeah, the one that we just read about. And that his case will likely be forwarded to prosecution after additional review. The Seoul Southern District Prosecutor's Office, which specializes in financial crimes, is expected to lead any eventual legal action. Incidentally, former FSS head Lee Bok-hyun had close ties with former prosecutor Shin Eung-seok, though both have since stepped down. Why did I include this sentence? Any idea? Let me know. Interestingly, HYBE was also raided in May over insider trading allegations involving a former executive. Yeah, we have talked about that before. That executive allegedly sold bought YG Plus stock and then sold when the stock skyrocketed. All right. So how does the article end? President Lee Jae-myung has stressed the importance of a fair capital market and investor protection both before and after taking office. Today, the National Assembly passed the revised Commercial Act, marked as his first major civilian reform bill, bringing renewed energy to KOSPI. Okay? As Korea's entertainment giants expand globally and gain more investment opportunities, it's imperative that they maintain not just success, but transparency and legal integrity. Ensuring fair market practices should be a shared goal. All right, written by Park Chung-hee. And let's see the comments. I was surprised the original article was deleted. This is not something that should just be brushed off. It's a massive amount of money and a serious issue. I hope to see fair reporting. And since the person involved is reportedly abroad, let's hope for a fair investigation too. All right. Only related institutions were related, not HYBE, and only Bang Si-hyuk has been questioned so far. Compare this to how Kim Bum-soo at Kakao was treated. This feels like special treatment. This might be Korea's biggest scam in history, and yet Kim was arrested the moment Bang filed a complaint against him without any investigation. Meanwhile, Bang Si-hyuk is dodging questioning. This comment got deleted. I guess it was too violent or something. Why was this article deleted and reposted hours later? And NBC, looking at all the articles and videos you have put out so far, you are basically a HYBE's mouthpiece. Okay? I've seen networks act like the government's puppet before, but I've never seen one become a servant to some rich entertainment company like this. Pathetic. All right, says that person. So, why was this article previously taken down? Let me tell you. So the sentences that I highlighted in red were the sentences that either got deleted or revised. So here's the difference. Difference number one. Originally, there was a sentence that said HYBE was recently raided by the police. It later got changed to the police investigating HYBE recently carried out raids on institutions related to HYBE's IPO. Okay, so if this updated sentence is indeed true, then the first sentence is just not true. I guess that's why there are some people who are saying that NBC has made fake news. Partly true and partly not. Well, that very sentence that they fix is not true. But yeah. All right. Difference number two. Original. The third warrant request was eventually approved by the prosecution, and the police immediately executed the warrant. This was changed into the third warrant request was eventually approved by the prosecution, but the investigation team has officially stated that a direct raid on HYBE has not yet been carried out. Man, did the journalist check in advance? Because that's some dramatic change. I mean, like, very dramatic change. All right, difference number three. Original. Excited by or buoyed by expectations, including the revision of the Commercial Act, the cost base is gaining strength. It got changed to, with the Commercial Act revision passing the National Assembly today as a first major livelihood bill, investor sentiment is improving and the cost base is gaining momentum. I guess when it comes to this one, they changed it because the updated article was released after the bill was passed. Okay. So there you go. Now, why don't we talk about the third article first? So that article was first posted at when? Around noon. But then it got re-uploaded at like 5 p.m. Later in the evening, at around 6 p.m., NBC releases another exclusive piece about Hive and Bang Si-hyuk. This time released by journalist named Kim Gun-hee, titled "Exclusive: Police Raid Korea Exchange Over Hive's IPO Review." So police raided not Hive but Korea Exchange, 한국거래소, also known as KRX. It's fairly short, so let me read this for you. Police investigating entertainment company Hive for alleged violations of the Capital Markets Act have carried out a raid on the Korea Exchange to review the company's stock transactions and IPO valuations process. According to sources, the Financial Crimes Investigation Unit of the Seoul Metropolitan Police raided the Korea Exchange in Yeouido on June 30th. During the raid, they requested and obtained files related to Hive's IPO review process. So, Hive chairman Bang Si-hyuk is under investigation for allegedly, this one we don't need to raid. So, actually, the last sentence. It is alleged that before Hive's IPO, Bang entered into a contract with a PF founded by one of his close associates to share 30% of profit from stock sales. Following the IPO, he reportedly received approximately 400 billion Korean won under this agreement. The FSS also reportedly summoned and questioned Bang at the end of last month in connection with these allegations. So FSS summoning and questioning Bang happened in about the same time as this raid on KRX. So interesting timing. So there we go. Do you want to read some comments? Again? Comments. A party for the haters. Let's reopen investigations into Hive's labor law issues too. Someone got 35 years for embezzling 220 billion won. 400 billion Korean won should be next level punishment. Embezzlement. Let's see. Bang Si-hyuk's 400 billion won plus his associates 800 billion won equal 1.2 trillion won. This could be the biggest fraud in Korean history. Absolutely wild. Bang Si-hyuk is finally getting what's coming to him. LOL. Hope they investigate thoroughly. Okay. Now, let's talk about what we have found out that we didn't know about, and then we're gonna briefly talk about the stock price. So, what do we learn today? Well, what are some newly confirmed facts as of July 3rd? So, first of all, Korea Exchange was officially confirmed as a search target for this issue for the first time, right? According to the NBC report published at 5:57 p.m., the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's Financial Crimes Investigation Unit conducted a search and seizure of the Korea Exchange on June 30th. Until now, it had only been reported that the police had twice failed to secure a warrant on Hive, right? It was unclear whether the third warrant had been issued or which locations had actually been searched. But today's article was the first to confirm that the Korea Exchange was indeed targeted and that the police obtained documents in digital form from the site. And secondly, the FSS, Financial Supervisory Service, has officially summoned Bang Si-hyuk for questioning and is conducting a separate investigation in parallel with the police. right? According to an exclusive report by News One this morning, Bang Si-hyuk personally appeared at the FSS for questioning at the end of June. By the way, this photo is from a long time ago. And previously, there had been rumors or speculation about a possible summons, but his actual appearance had never been confirmed. So it is now confirmed that the FSS investigation is active and proceeding independently from the police probe. All right, so those are two things that we have learned today. So what can we talk about this? So I feel like the FSS, this case will move closer to might move closer to a formal prosecutorial referral, but still not guaranteed. Like the FSS summoning Bang Si-hyuk signals that they're nearing the final stage of their investigation. If they determine that there's a clear violation of the Capital Markets Act, like the admission of the 30% profit sharing agreements and official IPO filings, they will likely refer the case to the Securities and Futures Commission, and from there to the prosecution. But whether the case actually results in an indictment will depend on how prosecutors interpret the legality and disclosure obligations of that private earn-out deal. And also, like, the police may attempt one more search warrant, like this time possibly targeting Hive directly, because so far Hive itself hasn't been rated for this issue. It got allegedly rated for the former executives' stock trading issue, but not for this one. But now that the Korea exchange has been searched, the next logical step for the police will be to seek direct access to Hive's internal communications, or like board minutes or financial planning documents. Whether prosecutors grant that warrant remains a test of how far they're willing to go, right? So the questions I have are these. First of all, why did prosecutors block the first two warrant requests? Was it due to insufficient evidence or something else? And how will the FSS and police coordinate going forward, or will they continue on like separate tracks? We'll have to see. And also, does the fact that the Korea exchange was searched before Hive itself suggest like hesitation or a strategy? We'll have to see. So yeah, we'll have to see. Now, let's talk about Hive stock. So today, Korean media on July 3rd have actively tried to link Hive's 5% stock price drop directly to the news of Bang Si-hyuk being summoned by the FSS. Yes, so Hive stock dropped by around 5% today. Like, there were headlines such as Hive stumbles 5% after Bang Si-hyuk questioned over alleged IPO fraud. And headlines like this were everywhere. But when you zoom out, the market data actually tells a more complex story, because Hive closed down 4.75%, sure, but SM Entertainment, for example, was down 6.09%. YG was down by 5.77%. JYP by 3.5%. So in fact, SM and YG dropped more than Hive. I mean, you would expect, like, if this were purely about the Bang Si-hyuk investigation, as suggested by the Korean media, then you would expect Hive to drop significantly more than its peers, right? Now, add this. On the same day, Samsung Electronics surged nearly 5% on the same day, which is a huge move for a mega cap. And in fact, the number one by market cap in the Korean stock market, Samsung Electronics, that is. So that kind of suggests a sector rotation, so to say. Money flowing out of entertainment or Kpop and into large cap like blue chips, especially in semiconductors. So it may also reflect like investors rotating toward I don't know, companies seen as like safer or better positioned amid macro shifts. And in fact, the past few weeks after the election, Korea's stock market has been doing quite well. But the entertainment sector has been doing well even before the election happened, right? So, in other words, the drop in Hive stock cannot be explained solely by the news about Bang Si-hyuk, especially when the entire entertainment sector was down sharply and the capital, was clearly flowing elsewhere. So the media's framing may be convenient, but it's overly simplistic, you know. And from my perspective, at least, today's market action looks more like a broad-based entertainment sector correction, possibly accelerated by institutional rebalancing or profit taking, rather than a singular response to regulatory headlines. And I mean, the FSS news may have added pressure, but it wasn't the only factor, and arguably not even the biggest one. And in fact, if you look at the chart technically, I'm not sure if you do stock investing or not. Like if you look at like the technicals, like moving day average or stuff, the correction, if this were to continue, may last a bit longer. So we'll have to be ready for it, especially because Hive stock did fail to exceed strongly the previous high that it marked in 2023. So it may last longer, the correction, and other entertainment companies might follow as well in correction. So we'll have to see. But from my perspective, today's drop has more to do with sector rotation, which could continue on for a bit. So we'll have to see. So a couple things also that I want to add in as an investor. Like to date, none of the major Korean or analyst reports on Hive or the entertainment sector have factored in Bang Si-hyuk risk as part of their valuation models or risk disclosures. I read almost every report on Hive and Kpop entertainment sector. So no analyst has priced in Bang Si-hyuk risk so far. Which tells us that until now, at least until now, the market didn't view this as a material corporate governance threat, so to say. So for the media, the Korean media, to suddenly act like this is a long expected overhang is inconsistent with what equity research has actually been saying. And also, there might be another factor why, the entertainment sector and the K-pop companies' stock price has fallen today and actually this week. Because as we all know, BTS just announced that their full group comeback is planned for next spring of 2026. Not late 2025 as many had hoped, including the analysts. So multiple analysts were projecting an album release by Q4 2025, followed by a global tour in early 2026, which is timing that would have had significant earnings implications. So a delay of several months could meaningfully push back revenue streams from albums, merchandise, and ticketing, of course. And given how heavily the entire K-pop sector is influenced by BTS activity, it's entirely plausible that the broader entertainment stock dip today reflects disappointment over that timeline, not just the legal news around Bang Si-hyuk. Now, for me though, I have already said this in my reaction video to the Weverse Live, historical Weverse Live of BTS OT7 full group Weverse. I'm glad that they're taking time. I told you, if Hive or Big Hit or Bang Si-hyuk or BTS were all about making money, they could have asked, chart topping producers to prepare nice tracks and melodies and even lyrics for them to record right after they get discharged. But they didn't do that, because for BTS, it's all about making music that they mean it and they're proud of, which is why they're gonna take time, and they were being quite honest. Even though this might have been disappointing for some investors and even for some fans that they were not able to work on music during the military period, which means that they were quite serious about serving as well, if you flip it. Some people thought that they might have written like pages after pages or notebooks after notebooks of lyrics or produced like thousands of beats. But what they're gonna do is get together starting yesterday or a couple days ago, and then work on music together. So that's their game plan. So I personally am glad and I respect that decision made by BTS themselves and also supported by the company Big Hit, Hive, and Bang Si-hyuk. So yeah, what we're seeing may be more about like earnings expectations and sector positioning than a sudden reaction to a regulatory headline. The legal news might have added negative sentiments, but the BTS delay and sector rotation into other stocks likely played a bigger role in today's market behavior. But we'll have to see. Anything could happen tomorrow. So yeah, we'll have to see. If the correction continues, I'm pretty sure that will make a certain group of people very happy. And this is something that I jokingly said. If the correction continues, I really hope that those haters buy some HYBE stocks. You know why? I previously described this as like emotional hedge, because I don't know. If you hate like very successful companies with a great potential, you might, and if you hate them to the bone, you might as well buy some stocks of that companies, because if the stock falls, it will make you happy with the twisted sense of happiness, because that means the company's, I don't know, the stock price is not doing well, and I guess that could make some people happy, especially if you're haters. But if the stock price rises, then you become a bit richer, instead of like hating the fact that the stock price goes up and up. I don't know. I said that jokingly. While the stock price was going up, and there were a lot of haters within the Korean investor community, online communities, how they wish so bad that HYBE just falls. In fact, just falls apart. Well, good luck to those haters. But once again, anything could happen, so we'll have to see. All right. I hope this video was informative, and let me update you accordingly with future videos. And even then, let's look at facts and communicate based on facts. All right. So feel free to leave your opinions, add information, fill in the gaps by leaving comments. And when you do so, as always, let's stay positive, respectful, and classy. Peace and love. Bye-bye.